Welcome everyone all over the world, all global. Contents Acknowledgements Introduction Part 1. Discover the message of you. 1. You are the message to commit to the basics. 3. Turn your message into a message. Turn your message into a message. 4. Turning your expertise into a bookable topic. Turning your expertise into a bookable topic. 5. Their problem or solution. 6. Putting the pieces together. The code promise formula. 7. Judy's surefire anti-procrastination plan. Part 2. Judy's 7-step method for writing a hilarious and inspiring speech. 8. It's about them. 9. Step 1. You have step 1. You have got 60 seconds to make them love you. 10. Step 2. Step 2. Man, do you have problems? 11. Step 3. Whip out your credentials. 12. Step 4. And action. 13. The words of this. F the shit up. 13. Step 5. Open your heart and get your standing ovation. 14. Open your heart, 14. Step 6. Now do something. Step 6. Now do something. 15. Step 7. The funny is money. Comedy class. Okay. Contents Part 3. Taking your message to the world. 16. Performing the message of you from the page to the platform. 17. Disaster prevention 101. 18. From fear to free. Absolutely crucial marketing essentials. 19. Leave the message of you. Acknowledgements. Much gratitude goes out all the speakers, meeting planners and speaker agents who shared their expertise for this book. Special thanks to speaker agents Jonathan Wigand of Big Speak Inc., Brian Lord of Premier Speakers Bureau, Kelly MacDonald Hill of Speakers Spotlight, Mike Fick of Speaking.com, and Sean Ellis of the Speakers Group. Thank you to my speaker buddies at the National Speakers Association who were interviewed for this book, especially Patricia Fripp, whose generosity of spirit shines in everything she does. Special gratitude to speaker and friend Mimi Donaldson for contributing all your hard-earned wisdom to this book and my life. Thank you to the talented Don Williams for the nights you stayed up transcribing my sometimes incoherent ramblings as well as making me laugh. Much gratitude to everyone at Manners Literary and my agent Penny Nelson, whose talents as a writer, editor and negotiator made it possible of this book to be in my reader's hands. Thank you, Daniel Rapp, for your insightful advice as well as seeing the possibility of this book and making it happen. And thank you, Chuck Adams, for discovering me and seeing that a girl who got a D in high school writing could become an author. And yeah, much appreciation to my partner in life, Dina Rubinstein, who talks me off the ledge and protects me from my evil thoughts. To all my students who fought of fear, dug deep and go their message out. You inspire me with your courage. What would you do? Okay, and finally, this book could not have been written without the uber talented S.J. Hodges. I can't thank you enough for your contribution to this book. You were my cheerleader every step of the way, asking the right questions, editing what I wrote, and midwifing this book at the same time you were having your own baby, Cecilia. Cecilia Clayton, and you are a glorious message of love. So, yes. Introduction. This book started off women strong fight. Women strong fight. Global success fight. GS5 WS5. Okay. Cut. This book started off as a traditional speaker's book. The kind how to stand and project your voice, how to memorize a speech, what to do with those nervous hands of yours. But in the process of writing this book and working with my students of fine-tune the exercises, it became something bigger, less about the speaking industry and more about defining the core promise of a speech, and even greater, how to find the message of you. My speaking workshop was formed of an eclectic group of mothers, stand-up comics, nurses, lawyers, and business owners. There were 30 students in all, and they plunged in head first to uncover their message. On showcase night, I sat and watched as one by one each student courageously stood up and told his or her individual truth. Okay, introduction. This book started off as a traditional speaker's book. You know the kind, how to stand and project your voice. how to stand and project a voice, how to memorize a speech, what to do with those nervous hands of yours. But in the process of writing this book and working with my students to fine tune the exercises, it became sometimes bigger, less about the speaking industry and more about defining the core promise of a speech, and even greater, how to find the message of you. My speaking workshop was formed of an electric, eclectic group of mothers, stand-up comics, nurses, lawyers, and business owners. There were 30 students in all, and they plunged in headfirst to uncover their message. On showcase night, I sat and watched as one by one each student courageously stood up and told his or her individual truth. Their messages of them were a powerful wake up call for the audience. They were inspired to respect themselves, to take responsibility for their actions and lives, to believe in themselves, to find courage. They were taught how to get rid of clutter, lighten up, and find their own style, and they were entertained immensely from laughter to tears. But that showcase night didn't just shake the earth underneath the audience, it also rattled the souls of the students. One of them, Naomi Lopez, the mother of a child with behavioral issues, had never spoken in front of people before. Her message was about her journey with her child from burden to blessing. From burden to blessing. She might not have been a she might not have been a she might not have she might not have been a professional speaker, but when she told her heart story, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Afterward, she wrote me, I am proof. Idea that spread wind. I am proof that anyone can do this. I want to spread the message that we parents are not alone. I went from a person who never performed or wanted to be in the spotlight to a person with a message I want to share with whoever will listen to me. Sometimes God has dreams for us that are bigger than we can dream for ourselves. This class has been life changing. Thank you. So I just searched of the I could make even shots, I know. And those wow. Within a few days, Naomi booked her first speaking engagement. Wow. That was my first indication of the life-transforming power of the message of you. I became even more excited as other students wrote to me. Wrote to me of the changes in their lives. Then my own message shifted. It happened on my birthday. a very special one because it marked the date that I became older than my mother was when she died early in my life, living longer than her made me aware of how finite existence is, and how I was now in a bonus round that I didn't want to screw up like that I didn't want to screw up like. Screw up like had so many other stages, like I had so many other stages of my life. I felt optimistic since I had fallen in love and gotten married a few years before. The security of finally finding a loving life partner freed me emotionally to give more to others. I recommitted my remaining years to making a difference in other people's lives. I volunteered to give my speech, laughing your way out of stress for the newly wounded soldiers in the spinal injury unit at the VA hospital in VA. VA, not VA hospital in Long Beach, California. My student Judy Oliverio is a nurse there, and she told me the place the place is so depressing for both and patients. Oh, for both the patients and the staff. We all need to be inspired and to laugh. I felt honored to have the chance to speak to these heroes. Driving to the gig, I panicked. It occurred to me at that saying, "Hey, just laugh it off," to a 22-year-old who had just earned he will never walk again might be a bit insensitive. My message didn't fit, and I didn't have another. There was no another backup plan. These people were already in pain. I didn't want to make their lives more miserable by literally adding insult to injury. Okay. When I got to the hospital, I saw they had decorated a large multi-purpose room with the banner "Laughter is the best medicine" with Judy Carter. The colorful party balloons strung throughout underscored the bleak mood. On one side of the bathroom, people were sitting in chairs and staring blankly at the floor, looking depressed and tired, and that was the staff. On the other side of the large room, looking like members of a rival gang, were spinal cord injury patients, many of whom were attached to ventilators. They were mostly young men. There were also some burn victims wrapped from head to toe in yellow Lady Gaga-like gowns. I was introduced to Nick Mendes, a soldier who was paralyzed from the neck down in an IED explosion in Afghanistan. He whispered, "Hi," as the machines pushed air in and out of his lungs. Oh my God. His father, Dave Mendes, who had moved into the hospital to be near his son, took me aside and said, I'm glad you are here because Nick has stopped doing his physical therapy. He is falling into a depression. The nurses tell me that if he doesn't do his therapy, he could die. Nick was 22 years old. My speech seemed more and more pathetic and anemic to me. My mind was scrambling to come up with an approach, a great joke or a story that would make me feel that I understood, but nothing came to mind. I was out of my league. How could I never ever understand their plan, their pain? What could I possibly say to alleviate their fear? Hey, lighten up. Wasn't going to cut it. The VP of HR got up and read my introduction. It was too late to leave. I had to go on. I walked to the center of the room with nothing in my head. I took a breath. I was quiet. All I could hear were the ventilators breathing for the soldiers who could no longer even breathe on their own. I opened my mouth to speak, and to my utter surprise, a story I had never told came out of me. I didn't think the words just came. It was as if I was taken over by a message that I had never written, that I had never told. But it was a message that I had lived, and a message. A message that I had lived, and a message that had been inside me, waiting to be expressed. I told them that my older sister Marsha was the quadriplegic from birth. After my parents died, I found a 6-person group home for Marsha, where she had professional nursing care as well as classes and weekend outings. She lived there until she died a few years ago. In her late 50s. When I arrived at her funeral, I was shocked. I expected to see a few people, but there were over 100 mourners, people I didn't even know. Her teachers throughout the years, her nurses, her caretakers, her friends. Then one attendee after the next spoke about how my sister gave meaning to their lives. Story after story was told about my sister's humor, her warmth, her love of dirty jokes. There were people there who spent their holidays with my sister rather than with their own families. I had no idea. My sister Marsha, who couldn't talk or walk, who was fed by a tube in her stomach and solely communicated with facial expressions and gestures, had the ability to turn strangers into friends. She had the ability to make a difference in other people's lives. In other people's lives. As I told this story, I felt the mood in a way a hospital chain. Everyone was feeling the same pain, yet it was better because we were all feeling it together, both staff and patients. I went on to share my eureka moment about my sister. I realized that even in her limited capacity, she gave more to others than many of us who are fully functional. Her life stood for the message of giving others the gift to be a better person, to be their best self. Marsha gave other people meaning to their lives because she enabled them to become better than they had imagined possible. Then my message came out of my mouth. It was something I had never thought of consciously thought of before. Consciously thought of before. Consciously thought of before. Never had put into words until that moment. I walked over to Nick's bedside. I held his hand, put my face very close to his, and told him all our lives have purpose. We might not know what it is, but you must believe that you do have a purpose. You can inspire others. You can help others. That's why you must get well. Yeah. Your life has meaning. I realized that I was the vehicle, a transmitter for the message, and in the end, the message was bigger than me. I then started delivering my comedy material, and having developed trust, they started laughing, or rather, laughter exploded of them, as it does from people who haven't laughed in a long time. I started my career as a stand-up comic because I wanted laughs, I wanted love, and I wanted attention.
So what you need to do is figure out who does care, who is going to raise
Yeah,
and say,
I wanted attention.
And sell something to them. The last example I want to give you is
Reading learning creates
as you can see,
great
that's nowhere, it's the middle of it.
husband-wife relationship, great couple life.
But they do have
I'm not reading. I'm creating happy couple life for myself and for others, for always ready for everyone in the world. I'm not reading. Whatever I do, I'm creating a happy couple life for myself and for others. That's what everyone wants, right? Healthy, happy couple life. Wow. Healthy, happy couple life. Great. Well, learning is first. So, right understanding mind, healthy, happy couple life. For all, forever. For me, then all and forever. Great. Everyone loves Superman. Wanted love, and I wanted attention. But through teaching others to find their message, the message of you. Big realization now in my dream. Great. The gap is that that boys want something but they don't know how to communicate, and girls both have it but they don't know how to connect. Okay, and for that a great futuristic vision will the couple that with first right understanding mind, good understanding mind. This future vision board. For this, how they can make it. For this, they can make enough effort. This motivation is enough and very important. The message of you, I found how much better it feels not to be wanting but giving. There is the message of you. I found how much better it feels not to be wanting but giving. There is no greater feeling in the world than to know you have made a difference in someone else's life. Yes. Let's do it. Wow, thank you God. Thank you very much. All universe, all gods, all gurus, all masters, teachers. A year later I wanted to check in and see how Nick was doing. He would been discharged he would been discharged and was living on base of Fort MacArthur, San Pedro, with his father and a caretaker. He was breathing on his own. He was sitting up straight. He was wheeling around. In his mouth operated electric chair with plenty of attitude. As he worked with his therapist to regain movement in his arms, he was cracking colorful jokes. I would repeat them here, but then this book would be banned from schools. As he worked with his therapist to regain movement in his arms, he was cracking colorful jokes. I would repeat them here, but then this book would be banned from schools, obviously. That's good. Thank you, schools. As I laughed and blushed, Nick told me he realized from my speech that if you are not laughing, then you are not living. Great. Right. After one of his therapy sessions at the VA hospital, we spent some private time together, and he told me,
I call it the TV industrial complex. The way the TV industrial complex works is you buy some ads,
okay,
order up some people, that gets you distribution.
1, 2, 3,
Use the
4.
distribution you get.
Okay, first one is there,
You take the
5.
profit from that to buy more ads.
Okay,
And it goes around
and he told me,
and around the same
when I was first injured,
model. And we heard yesterday, if we can only get
a doctor told me I would never walk, that I would never move, that I would never be able to do anything. He was an a-hole.
informed my entire childhood. All of these products succeed.
Then Nick told me that he wanted to write a book. I asked him what his message was, and he told me, I never truly appreciated the power of family. Without my family, I would be lost. Then this very young man looked directly into my eyes and said, with the wisdom of a sage, see, Judy, you and your body can do more than you think. Right. You are 100% right. More than you can imagine. Perfect. Right. I have learned never to quit, never give up, never give up, never give up, never give up, never give up. 5 times done. One more. Never give up. Nick is now devoted to his physical therapy as he wants to regain use of his hands so he can give the doctor the finger. Okay, so your body and your mind can do more than you think. Okay, your body and mind can do more than you think. Your body and your mind can do more than you think. Your body and your mind can do more than you think. Your body and your mind can do more than you think. One more time. Your body and your mind can do more than you think. Yes. Yeah, I'm feeling great. A noble goal, a succinct message to have been a part of Nick's journey has been a humbling and inspiring honor for me. Inspiring honor for me. Okay, I'm looking forward to being part of your journey as well. The message of me is helped you to find the message of you, and I know together we can make difference. Hopefully. It would have made my sister and mother proud. It would have made my sister and mother proud. Hashtag G. Yes, hashtag G.
Don't care about you at all. They just don't care. Part of the reason is
so yeah.
They got way more choices than they used to. And
Part 1. Discover the message of
in a
you.
world where we have too many choices and too little time, the obvious thing to do
Hashtag
is
G.
just ignore stuff. And my parable here.
Chapter 1. You are the message. Okay, I'm going to say something shocking. Ready? Your greatest speech has already been delivered in front of a live audience. Oh my God! When? Are you serious? But for me, it's true actually. Yeah, you're right. And that speech was delivered masterfully. Yeah, that's also correct. And powerfully by you. Yeah. How do you know? Okay. You may be staring at this and wondering how you missed this great moment, or thinking I've lost my mind. Hold on 1 second and think about what I have just said. Your greatest speech already exists, even though you don't know it. Right. It's in the advice you give to your friends, right? Okay. In the lessons you teach your children. Okay. This too. In the stories you tell your family, you have given parts of your speech when you helped your sister build her website, or when you shared the story of your immigrant grandparents journey to America. The message of you speech has expressed itself in the volunteer work you do. It's very, very best, forever best for both of the gender. What your thought? Okay. All pretty results, but all pretty thoughts. plus
about where you sat at work.
mind. The way you run your business,
Lionel Coué, the most famous baker in the world. He died.
the way the way the way you run your business, the way you just know which color suits you
Every loaf
and which doesn't. It's in the stories you share that inspire others to tell the truth, conquer their fears, and lead happier, healthier, and wealthier lives. Okay, lives,
one person to another.
couple life,
It became
right? Good wisdomful life,
now he's in London.
good understanding mind life, good understanding.
What Martha was used to do is make
Self-improvement
average
books,
products for
reading
average
life.
people. That's what mass marketing is.
Your greatest speech is in the stories you tell every day, because at the core of those stories in the message of you.
Industrial complex is broken. I don't think that's the strategy.
The message of you is a distillation of all of your experiences, both personal and professional,
These people
that have formed the narrative of meaning of your life. The wrinkle is the message of you is usually not obvious. Most of the time, the meaning of our lives is invisible to us. We can't be objective about our own journey. We can't see how our life influences others. We are so busy living with don't take note of the steps we, we took to find success. Yet these are the very things that make people want to listen and to more about us. The good news is not only you can discover the message of you, but you can also develop it to inspire audiences, enhance your current profession, and launch a successful money-making career as a professional speaker. I can prove it. Chastity Davis had a problem.
everybody wants it, but they don't care. They want to talk to people who do. And maybe
It all started with a simple dinner in Vancouver, Canada. Chastity Davis, BC Hydro's marketing manager, joined her boss for a quick meal after work to talk about their upcoming convention. After a second round of drinks had been ordered,
tell the people who are listening, and maybe
Chastity
those people tell their friends.
relaxed and opened up, sharing
Who are all tuned in from 130 countries watching his 2-hour commercial. That's the only thing keeping his company in business. Is that those 50,000 people care desperately enough to watch a 2-hour commercial and then tell their friends. Pearl Jam, 96 albums released in the last 2 years.
and opened up.
How?
and opened up.
On their website.
Sharing stories from her childhood, Chastity was a member of the
This hospital
Tla-
$10 times
Tlamin Nation, one of the indigenous tribes of
This paint can right here
tribes of Canada.
saved the Dutch Boy Paint Company, making them a fortune, cost 35%
Tribes of Canada. As she spoke about her passion for healing the earth, and the words of wisdom
every day, 250
she would inherited from her ancestors, her boss looked her straight in the eye and said, "This is exactly what our convention attendees need to get inspired in. I want you to be our closing keynote speaker." Chastity's first thought was, absolutely not. After all, it was one thing to share the dramatic and highly personal tales of the abuses suffered by her parents over dinner with her boss. It was quite another thing to stand on stage in front of 500 of her colleagues and shared those same intimate details. Chastity shook her head. No, but no, but her boss was persistent. Chastity, it's only 30 minutes, and all you have to do is just tell your story. Your message is exactly what everyone needs to hear. You'll be great. Yeah. Maybe it was the feeling that she could that she could really make a difference in the world, or maybe it was that second glass of wine. But Chastity said yes. Then she did what all speakers, professional and amateur, do. She procrastinated. 1 week before she was scheduled to step on stage, she realized she would better write something to say, and quick. She sat down with her laptop and started writing. She wrote about her life, her parents, and the history of her people. Hours passed and exhausted. Chastity gave up. She now had 20 pages of single-spaced, disconnected anecdotes and passionate pleas that read more like a manifesto than a coherent speech. She absolutely could not get up on a stage and read from it. What was she going to do? It sounded so simple when her boss said, "Just tell your story." But what did that mean exactly? Which story should she tell? The horror story about her mother's childhood, when she was forced to attend government residential schools on a reservation. Her family's battle with alcoholism, her work with the First Nation families. How about her turbulent dating life? 10. Or should she just focus on the warm and fuzzy stories of living with her grandparents? Her boss had said, "You have a great message." What did that mean? What was the message? What was the message that her boss heard in her stories? More important, why would anyone really care? Making things even more difficult was the fact that her audience expected her. Was the fact making things even more difficult was the fact that her audience expected her to speak about environmental issues. Chastity was scheduled as the closing keynote speaker for BP Hydro's an annual convention. The topic this year being the Green Initiative. She would be speaking in front of an audience full of volunteers from various departments, just like herself, who had committed to making their company more sensitive to the environment and more sustainable. Chastity's boss was in fact one of the co-chairs of the volunteer program, which was suffering through Rough times were volunteers were overwhelmed with the day-to-day responsibilities of their jobs. They didn't have time to fulfill their volunteer commitment. Goals hadn't been reached, and the initial exuberance had all but shriveled, but shriveled, was shriveled up and died. How could her personal life story inspire others? And what in the world did it have to do with sustainability? Chastity suddenly felt the full weight of his burden on her shoulders. Somehow she had to convince a room full of stressed, fatigued, and already overworked volunteers to add even more work without pay to their hectic schedules. To their hectic schedules. Who was she to show such bravado? She would never be a television. She wasn't a best-selling author. Her life was far from perfect. She wasn't at her goal weight. Okay, goal weight. She would dated a few wackos, and all of her clothes were from Ross Dress for less. She didn't consider herself to be charismatic, funny, or gorgeous. And the excuse me, and the vast majority for her colleagues in the audience came from very different backgrounds. Would 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 they do would they relate to her experience as a native Canadian? Even if they did, how would it inspire them to strive for sustainability and give up their scarce free time to help the earth? Chastity felt defeated. She had but one thought: get me out of this. Unfortunately, it was too late to find another keynote speaker for the convention. Chastity was stuck and freaking out. She hopped online, found my website, and a few days before her keynote address, we sat down via Skype to craft her speech.
The way the TV industrial complex works is you buy some ads, interrupt some people, that gets you distribution. You use the distribution you get to sell more product. You take the
Chastity,
from that,
Chastity's stories were dramatic and interesting.
with that model of yesterday, we can only get on
Dramatic and interesting, but they had no frame or context and offered no solution to problem. Her speech lacked a core promise, and Chastity was unclear about the large message she wanted to convey. What I call the message of you. She just needed a process, a structure, and a framework in which to discover and write these two important components. We weren't starting from scratch. Chastity already had her topic and she knew her audience personally. As we examined her life, her message took shape. Chastity spoke about the time her alcoholic mother threw her out of the house when she was only 7 years old. 7 years old and left to fend on her own. Revealing that story, Chastity found her message one handed down from her ancestors. Oh my God, easy. From her ancestors and a legacy of familial abuse. It was a message that declared no matter who we are, no matter how frightened we are, no matter how small and weak we feel, We can step into our power and succeed against seemingly insurmountable
because they have no idea what's going to work and what's not.
succeed against seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Chastity stood on that stage, looked the volunteers in the audience square in the eye, and said, "If I can do it at 7 years old, we can do it now. For the sake of my mother, for our people, for our children." The results, she got a standing ovation with people wiping their eyes. Her message hit home and revived the volunteer program. 3 managers from other departments asked her to present to the other division of BC Hydro, and within 1 month of her talk, Chastity was officially asked by BC Hydro to spearhead their diversity training. She was just named Vice President of the BC Aboriginal Women's Leadership Association. And she is now paid to speak across Canada on the role of women in leadership. Chastity then started her own business, working with the native community on leadership, the sustainability, and inspiring native Canadians to step into their own power, to get healthy, get educated, and start businesses. Sometimes she still freaks out. But knowing the importance of her message gets her over her fears. That's the power of message of you. I could relate to Chastity's journey because, just like Chastity, my career as a professional speaker also began as a fluke. I was a high school teacher and I was terrible at it. I was fired after my second year in the classroom. Apparently, being the class clown is no more acceptable for a teacher than it is for a student. But as they say, when one door closes, another opens. Getting fired freed me to pursue my real dream. Right? I had been doing magic shows since I was 8 years old and had always wanted to be a professional magician. So, at 24 years old, I took my comedy magic act on the road. Traveling was a huge pain. My magic act had a lot of heavy props. I was lugging around a Black and Decker saw to cut men in half, plus a whole assortment of props to accomplish such feats as my death-defying escape from my grandmother's girdle. Hey, it's a living. I was successful touring the country, but it all came to a grinding halt when United Airlines lost my luggage and I had to go on without my props. No props meant no magic tricks. I had to stand on stage, just me, and so I told jokes unbelievably. I was a hit. Thanks to United, from that night on, I became a comic with a carry. I became a comic with a carry on. I continued my career as a comic, headlining at comedy clubs all across the country and playing Vegas and Atlantic City, opening for some really cool people like Prince. I did hundreds of television appearances, and by any measure, my career in stand-up was a success. So why wasn't I happy? Well, it wasn't very glamorous. Getting heckled by drunks, staying in cheap motels, and dealing with crooked club owners. Life on the road can be a lonely life. If I had known then what I know about the speaking profession, I would have spared myself the trials and tribulations of being a road comic. I can tell you the exact moment I decided to quit stand-up. I was in New York, and Walter, my miniature schnauzer, had been mugged. That's right. My dog had been mugged, not me, and I had to run the poor thing to an emergency clinic right before I was supposed to go on stage in Long Island. I was in no mood to be funny, and I was late. I got to the club, and it became clear instantly that God had titled the world on its side. Yes, on its side, and all the scumbags had trickled into this particular corner of the universe. Then they were drunk, they were mean, and before I even stepped foot on stage, they were heckling me. I hadn't even said a word yet. I pushed through part of my routine, and I had a joke that started with the line, sometimes in t-shirt, sometimes in coat, sometimes in mixture, maximum times celebs like celebrities, so everyone can relate. 80%. Kenya man. 20% all men. I worry about getting old, and some guy in the front row snorted sarcastically and yelled, "Getting old? Getting old?" Insinuating that I was already well past my prime. I was in my early 30s by the way. I don't know what happened, but something in me broke open at that moment. I stopped and stood perfectly still. It hit me so clearly. Here I was standing in front of a bunch of drunks, trying to make them laugh, just as I did as a kid in my own family. It was a eureka moment where haha turned into aha. It was totally done. I walked off stage, picked up my dog, and went home to figure out what I would do next. What I would do next. After reading you are dancing like after reading these books. It will be like this.
architect or you have a track on sociology. It is very good. It's not going to work because no one's going to know.
I would do next.
So, my three stories. Silk,
What I would do next?
a product that does not
I formed a company called Comedy Workshops and started teaching stand-up comedy. I wrote 2 books stand-up comedy, the book and the Comedy Bible,
was remarkable. They didn't triple their sales.
to help aspiring comics craft their material and take it on the road. Oprah Winfrey booked me for her show and I became known as the comedy guru,
Frank Gehry didn't
the go-to gal for launching the careers of America's top comics. I got so much press that thousands of students lined up to study with me via my Los Angeles workshops as well as via online classes, teleseminars and international classes in Canada, Russia, Sweden, Australia and Germany. Things were going well and I was paying the bills, but I missed performing. About that time, a friend asked me to speak at her company annual conference, the Produce and Fruit Association, the Prestige. But all of a sudden, for one gig, I was getting paid 10 times as much as I made doing 9 gigs a week in a comedy club. Here is the weird part. I didn't have to do my act. They paid me to talk about comedy as a topic.
Then an artist came to them. This is a true artist.
I didn't even know what that meant, so I just made something up. I created kind of a mashup from my experiences of teaching comedy and added a few bits from my act. It was very uneven and awkward, but the audience seemed to enjoy it. Even though I had to share the stage with a dancing avocado. Nobody threw anything at my head, and at the end of the talk, they handed me a big check. After it was over, all I could think was speaking for a living rocks. How do I do this full time? Okay. Great man. After reading these 5 areas of books, you are like dun. Okay. All I could think was, purple cow. Okay. All I could think was speaking for a living rocks. How do I do this full time? I started researching the speaking business and found there were a lot more speaking gigs available than comedy gigs. Every day in every city, there are hundreds of meetings and they all need speakers. There were also a lot of perks. Speakers are paid more than comics. They have a full hour to perform in front of sober and appreciative audiences, and best of all, as a speaker I didn't have to be the hot new up and coming young talent forever. In fact, in the speaking profession, experience, age and wisdom are actually considered assets and not liabilities. So in the speaking profession, experience, age and wisdom. I joined the National Speakers Association, where I met speakers who were making 6 figures every year. Many of these successful speakers had ever been on TV, had never been asked for an autograph. First, make your platform your
I
thing,
wonder what they said, like the greatest invention since the telegraph or something. But this guy out of Rhode
and
Island
then
invented sliced bread. And he's also,
spread
like most inventors did,
physically and spread it manually. Come on.
part.
Graph, autograph, and weren't entertainers. But not only did they have vibrant careers, they were really making a difference in people's lives. I wanted what they had. I became obsessed with finding finding out the secret to their success. It didn't take long to figure it out, even though I had been on hundreds of TV shows and had been nominated for Atlantic City Entertainer of the Year. These speakers had something I didn't. A message. Ask any professional speaker what do you speak about, and they can summarize in a concise two-sentence phrase their message of you, the message of their lives, even the survivor speakers, one of the survival speakers, the ones who rely heavily on incredible life and death stories, still have a message to impart to their audiences. The same was true for the more technical speakers who gave informational type talks on taxes, finance, and computer programming, like Mr. Steve Jobs and Mr. Bill Gates. Even they included a motivational message along with their facts and figures. No matter the speaker or the topic, everyone had one thing in common. They all included a message that was designed to inspire an audience to make tomorrow a better day than today. As a stand-up comic, message and a great teacher, message didn't matter. My act was a series of disconnected jokes about everything: dieting, pets, relationships, and politics. Whatever was on my mind. I had tons of material, but no message, and I had no idea how to find one. Okay.
It is not working the way that it used to. This picture is really fuzzy. I apologize. I had
God.
holes when I took it. The blue box, and once those things are as cheap as they can make them. The only thing they have in common is that they're different. We're now in the fashion business. No matter what we do for a living, we're in the fashion business. And the thing
Message, and I had no idea how to find one. I read every book on public speaking and the speaking industry I could find. I learned a great deal about marketing and how to keep my hands from flailing about, but there was no book on how to find a message or even how to write a speech. I learned about BOR, back of room sales, how to have a dazzling website, and how to negotiate a contract, even if I was a dummy. Negotiate a contract.
this guy,
Even if I was a dummy. Where was the book that could help me find my message? It didn't exist. I realized I was going to have to figure this out myself, stumbling through self-doubt and fear. I took classes, I watched other speakers, and I began to recognize a pattern. The professional speakers that were most successful were able to convey their message because they were considered experts in their field.
Smooth out the
Yes,
edges.
let's fight
Go
again.
for the center. That's what they want. They would ignore
Thank you,
the
God.
edges.
Sweet great
God
children.
forbid.
Their field. From accountants to cancer survivors, salesmen to system analysts, athletes to astronauts. They had examined their own success and failures to develop their own step-by-step methodology that could help others be just as successful. I asked myself, how am I an expert? How am I an expert? And looked at my career as a magician, comic and teacher. I examined my life story of growing up with a severely disabled sister in a family where daddy getting angry was scary as an LA earthquake. It took a lot of work, but I finally found the message of me underneath my stories was a larger message about the transformational power of humor. Perfect, you are. My message of me was right under my nose the whole time, but I was too close to see it. I had the rubby slippers all along. Rubby slippers all along. My message of me combined all the elements of my life. When I was a teacher, I used humor to help my students learn. With my disabled sister Marsha, making her laugh created many moments of happiness in her otherwise tragic life. At the dinner table, laughter could ease tense situations and diffuse conflict. Playing a comedy gig in Vegas, I could wake up a dead audience. Teaching stand-up comedy, I helped so many of my students overcome the tragedies in their lives by turning their problems into punchlines. I knew how to teach the principles of comedy to stand-up students, but now I realized comedy wasn't just for showbiz types. Thank you, Mummy. Thank you very much. I saw humor as a life and business tool that could be used to decrease stress, resolve conflict, and improve health in the workplace. Great. I repeat, I saw humor as a life and business tool that could be used to decrease stress, resolve conflict, and improve health in the workplace. Wow. Decrease stress, resolve conflict, improve health for both men and women and for everybody in the world. In the workplace, I had my message of me. Woohoo! I honed my speech by speaking for free at charity events, chambers of commerce hospitals. Okay, chambers of commerce hospitals, churches, basically any organization within 30 miles of my house got a call. At first I sucked. Note to self, don't say suck at a corporate gig. Don't say suck at a corporate gig. And it took me years to figure out how to frame my message to truly motivate and transform others. I had to find stories that were not only funny and entertaining but also revealing and supported my message. After much trial and error, note to self: do not mention nipples at a business meeting. I became an in-demand speaker presenting for Fortune 500 companies traveling the world, sharing the stage with President Clinton and other high-profile speakers flying on private jets, and speaking in front of some of the most powerful movers and shakers in the world. Along the way, I learned how to market myself, get agents interested, find gigs, create BOR back of room sales, BOR BOR back of room sales, back of room sales, back of room sales, back of room sales, and brand myself as an expert, back of room sales, back of room sales, and brand myself as an expert. When Chastity called me for help, it made me realize that someone needed to write the book you are reading. As I crisscrossed the world for my speaking engagements, more and more people told me their stories of dreams fulfilled, passions unearthed, and funny, dramatic, and even tragic parts of their lives. It was clearly that all of them wanted to be heard, and that many of their stories were absolutely fascinating. Okay, a few of them, but I tuned my ears to hear something underneath their stories, their messages that not only entertained but had the potential to make dramatic differences in other people's lives by helping people stand up in front of others and transform their messages into well-crafted speeches. I felt that I too might contribute from their message, okay, from their message.
I want to give you 4 specific examples that I'm going to cover at the end about how a product called Silk tripled their sales by doing one thing. How an artist named Jeff Koons went from being a nobody to making a whole bunch of money and having a lot of impact, to how Frank Gehry redefined what it meant to be an architect. And one of my biggest failures as a marketer in the last few years, a record label I started that had a CD called Sauce. But before I can do that, I got to tell you about sliced bread and a guy named Otto Rohwedder. Now, before sliced bread was invented in the 1910s, I wonder what they said, like the greatest invention since the telegraph or something. But this guy named Otto Rohwedder invented sliced bread, and he focused, like most inventors did, on the patent part and the making part. And the thing about the invention of sliced bread is this, that for the first 15 years after sliced bread was available, no one bought it, no one knew about it. It was a complete and total failure. And the reason is that until Wonder came along and figured out how to spread the idea of sliced bread, no one wanted it. That the success of sliced bread, like the success of almost everything we've been talking about at this conference, is not always about what the patent is like or what the factor is like. It's about can you get your idea to spread or not.
This
And I
topic.
think that the way you're going to get what you want or cause the change that you want to change to happen is you're going to figure out a way to get your ideas to spread. And it doesn't matter to me whether you're running a coffee shop or you're an intellectual or you're a business.
How do I know?
Flying hot air balloons. I think that all this stuff applies to everybody, regardless of what we do. That we are living in a century of ideas. That people can spread ideas, regardless of what those ideas are. And when I talk about ideas, that's the message of the picture that we'll put in your presentation. Because it's easy to talk about. At the heart of spreading ideas is TV and stuff like TV and mass media made it really easy to spread ideas in a certain way. I call it the TV industrial complex. The way the TV industrial complex works is buys an ad, interrupts the people, that gets you distribution. Use the distribution you get to sell more product. You take the profit from that to buy more ads. And it goes around and around and around the same way the military industrial complex works a long time ago. But that model of, if you can only get on the home page of Google, if you can only figure out how to get promoted there, if you can only figure out how to grab that person by the throat and tell them about what you can do that, then everyone will pay attention to you there. Well, this TV industrial complex informed my entire childhood and probably yours. And all of these products succeeded because someone figured out how to touch people in a way they weren't expecting, in a way they didn't necessarily want, when they had over and over and over again until they bought it.
Okay.
The thing that's happened is they canceled the TV industrial complex. That just over the last few years, when anybody who markets anything has discovered,
From their message into well-crafted speeches, I felt that I too might contribute in some small way to the betterment of our world, and for all gentlewomen and gentlemen of the world. This is how I am Ritesh MBR, and today I am going to talking about
every single message.
yes, obviously,
Ignored every message because I don't have a opinion with the problem. I buy this stuff in the yellow.
self-improvement in these 5 areas and
Minute of my time to solve her problem.
women
I
empowerment,
don't care. Here's a
women
magazine
in
called
strongness,
180
by help
pages about water.
by helping chastity write a
Imagine what the world was
Thank
like
you.
50 years ago when they started even posting time and music. Now there are magazines
Chastity.
about water, new products from Coke Japan.
write a genuinely
Coke Japan
moving
is
speech to inspire hundreds of Canadian volunteers. I might actually be helping the environmental movement
I couldn't have written this better myself. It came out 4 days ago. I
movement become more than just recycling.
They come out, Arby's, and they spend $85 million promoting an
And everyone
with the voice of
in the world, if you are a human being,
that will get people
black, white, small, big, whoever,
roast beef sandwich.
here, there, wherever, everyone is
Possibly be
gentlewoman and gentleman. gentlemen and gentlemen. All the best. God bless to all of you. Have a healthy, wealthy, happy life forever. God will make everything alright.
Now, this is Copernicus.
And God will keep everything alright. Always, daily,
When
forever.
he's talking to anyone,
It was a
the idea the world revolves around me.
hey, will you please?
My
Okay,
favorite
okay.
person, me. I don't want to get email from anybody.
I'm
I wanna get
actually
email.
excited. Come on, man.
So consumers,
Focus.
and I don't just mean people
I was an amazing thought, and it's the reason I wrote this book. I'm here to tell you that your life has meaning. Your stories can inspire. Your stories can inspire, and your message can heal your TED. So, if you are a gentleman, then subscribe her and him. If you are a gentlewoman, then subscribe him
Because you've seen cows before.
and her.
Cows are
Your TED technology, your TED, okay.
nobody.
It was an amazing thought, and it's the reason I wrote this book. I'm here to tell you that your life has meaning. Your stories can inspire, and your message can heal. Your TED, Technology, Entertainment and Design Talk. See Chapter 2 for more information. Is already inside of you. Sound naive? Sound naive. Too idealistic. In my 25 years on the speaking circuit and coaching other speakers, I have seen it happen over and over again. A person who feels they are nobody steps up. They are nobody steps up, tell their story, and discovers that they truly are somebody in this world. Obviously,
It's always some third-rate
100%.
some second-rate star.
I see the surprise on their face when people in the audience line up to
People saw it,
hug them
that was there, and they noticed it.
and tell them that their stories made a difference in their lives.
One sells things that are super expensive in a blue box.
Watching them,
Sells things that are cheap as they can make
I'm,
them.
I'm, I'm getting first place. I'm getting
We're
5
now
year
in the
first place.
fashion business. No matter
Forever.
what we do for
Unfortunately,
we're in the fashion business.
most people don't know where to begin. Amateur
The rest of us have
speakers
to understand that it's not
usually will tell their story in chronological order as a list of this happened, then this happened, and then this happened. That is more of an exercise in narcissism than an effective speech. Mind you, I didn't find my message of me when I was giving my first speech. After much trial and error, I branded myself as a stress reduction speaker who showed corporate America how to use comedy skills to relieve stress.
When Lionel started his bakery, the French poo-pooed it. They didn't want to buy his bread. It didn't look like
In order to find my message of me, I had to examine my own journey, identify my life lessons, my professional credentials, as well as what bookable topics corporate America would be interested in hearing about. The combination of those elements created the message of me. I then reading is like food. If you won't eat, you will die. It's like eating food. It's like water, drinking water. It's like breathing, drinking, eating, breathing, eating, drinking, drinking, eating. Reading is like that. Reading is also that. If you read, you will live. If you don't read, living will be very, very hard. I then used that information to create the core promise for each of my speeches to develop my methodology, my action steps, and to choose my heart story. This book will walk you through that identical process, saving you the painful trial and error of flopping in front of a live audience.
To market an idea, to come up with any problem you want to solve.
Wait,
that doesn't
what process exactly?
is almost impossible. Instead, you have to find a group that
So
really doesn't
now you are going to ask me, but Judy, how do I identify which of my stories and
That's why there's lots and lots
is my heart story?
and not so many times.
What are action steps? How can I possibly boil down the experience of my life into one message,
Figure this whole thing out.
one core promise?
And what they do
And what the heck is a core promise anyway?
to the people who just crossed.
And what does all this have to do with the speech? I have to give to a room full of nurses or executives or socialists
Make the loudest
or new parents or drug addicts next month. Next month? Next month. Help. Okay,
But the fact remains
take a breath.
that when someone wants to put a couple speakers in their car, if they've got their copy and they've heard from someone who does, they go ahead and take pictures.
Reading is like this also.
Some of the people who are listening and maybe
Okay, take a breath and let's start at the beginning. Let me give you an overview of my process. I'm going to try not to throw too much at you at once. If you just go through the chapters one by one and do all the exercises, you will succeed in finding your message, creating your speech, getting bookings, and making a difference. How to use this book? Part 1 of this book will help you to identify the message of you. This is the foundation of your speech, your marketing materials, and even all your tweets. You will find it by combining different components of your experience, your life lessons, your professional expertise with the bookable topics of the speaker marketplace, with explanations and exercises. I will lead you by the hand and assist you to clarify your speaking goals.
by advertising a lot, they got this way.
Mine your professional experiences of expert credentials. Scan your personal life for the tragedies and triumphs and shaped your outlook on life. Identify your own methodology for success. Stop procrastinating and discover a bookable, marketable message of you. And hey, even if you have no interest in pursuing a career as a professional speaker, you can still benefit from incorporating your message of you and your work presentations or even social situations like a toast at a wedding or speaking during your child's career day. If this is the case, I would encourage you to focus solely on part 1 and part 2 of this book. You can skip the business primer in part 3. Part 2 of this book will walk you through my 6-step method to create your speech, with a final chapter that will guide you through a Carter comedy pass that is sure to keep your audience laughing. You will learn how to write a great opening with that will make the audience love you within 60 seconds.
A product that does not need to be in the refrigerated section next to the milk in the refrigerated section. Sales triple. Why? Milk, not milk.
Keep an audience engaged by talking about their problems. Brag about yourself without isolating your audience. Inspire your audience to take concrete action steps. Share your heart story to create meaning and bring the audience to to their feet with an interactive call to action.
One building that people from all over the world went to see. Now, at countless meetings at the Portland City Council or who knows where,
Part 3 will show you performing and memorizing techniques so you can avoid flop, sweat and other disasters, as well as showing you how. As well as showing you how. To gather together the materials you need to successfully market your talk, write and negotiate contracts and turn free gigs into paying gigs. If your goal is to become a paid professional speaker, then make sure you don't skip any of the exercises in part 3. Wow.
That's the example I want to give you. This is a map of Soap Lake, Washington. As you can see, if that's nowhere, it's in the middle of it.
Letter is good.
But they do have a lake. And people used to come from miles around to swim in the lake. They don't anymore. So the founding fathers said, so much, we got some money to spend. What can we build here? And like most communities, they were going to build
Build the
something.
relationship
And then
next to
all
it.
this came to
Okay.
that. This is a true artist rendering. He wants to build a
What you will need to master this process: a support system. It's important to work with a buddy who will act as your audience, supplying feedback, writing material and giving you support when you want to quit. I don't underestimate how powerful fear is. If you are like most people, you will hit points where you are stuck, confused, and just stop the process. Having regularly scheduled meetings with a buddy will help both of you navigate your way to a speaking career. Many speakers form mastermind groups that meet at least once a month to help them develop, hone, and market their speaking skills. Marriott. Or ask a friend, someone you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts with, to act as your sounding board. The best speaker buddies are people who make you feel smart and funny when you are around them. Don't make excuses. Hook up with a speaker buddy right now. Being in the same location is no longer necessary as working via Skype. Skype works just as well. Matter of fact, me being a Jewish yenta, let me fix you up with someone. Visit my speakerbuddy.com to hook up with someone who can be there for you. Yeah, absolutely. A recording device. Ideas don't necessarily happen when you want them to. They happen in life at a party, during a business meetings, in bed. Come on, you can have S anytime, but ideas need to be recorded whenever they happen, otherwise they will vanish. I use my iPhone to forever preserve my ramblings, but you can use a digital voice recorder, an old tape recorder, a notepad, or a cocktail napkin if you are like me and can't stand listening to your voice. Go to themessageofyou.com or services, where you will find a list of inexpensive services that will transcribe your audio notes and email them to you. Notebook. In order to find the message of you, We are going to do a lot of writing. The journey to find the message of you is not a direct route. It would be great if I just asked you a few questions and jackpot.
Now, I think that the way you're going to get what you want or cause the change that you want to change
The three cherries line up and outcomes your winning message of you. It takes a lot of writing to find the kernels of truth that will develop into your speech. That will develop into your speech.
century of ideas is that people can spread ideas regardless of what those ideas are. When I talk about it, I usually pick business because they make the best pictures you can put in the presentation.
In writing this book, there are hundreds of trees that had to be cut down to supply all the pages that nobody will ever see. Every writer knows that writing is a hit and miss process, but it would be a good idea to have a place to store all your ideas as they come to you, either a physical one or a folder on your computer. A commitment, a notebook, a commitment, a support system, a recording device, a notebook, a commitment. I'm sure that there are many things in your life that you have tried, and when it got hard, you stopped. Right? I would like to help you commit to this process of finding and putting together your speech, and not be like me on my dad program, which I always start with enthusiastic intent that ends 3 days later with a plate of pasta primavera. I have no doubt there will be times in this process where you want to quit. I'll be asking you to remember a story, and perhaps you won't be able to think of a thing. Here is a thing: creativity doesn't always happen on our time schedule. If you commit to this journey, you might find your message of you sneaks up on you. You may be frustrated with an exercise in this book, but then 2 days later the dry cleaner says something that shakes loose a memory, and suddenly your whole speech comes together. It's about staying open to the process. Commit yourself to staying open. If you quit, you will never find that aha moment. There is a reason you picked up this book in the first place. Honor that intention. Right?
They come out, Arby's and they spend $85 million. But if the cow
To gather the materials you need to successfully market your talk, write and negotiate contract, and turn free gigs into paying gigs. If your goal is to become a paid professional speaker, then make sure you don't skip any of the exercises in part 3. Okay, thank you.
worth making a remark about. And that is the essence of where idealization is going. That two of the hottest
If you quit,
United States,
I will never find that aha moment.
big enough,
There is a reason you picked up this book in the first place. Honor that intention. Commitment pledge. I commit to the following. 1. I will read the whole book by 29 Feb 2026. And that's what I did. Date. 2. I'll complete all the exercises in this book, even if don't do them well by 1 March 2026. Date done. 3. When I get scared or find myself procrastinating, I will call Mr. Jimmy Donaldson, my brother. Name of buddy? Yes, my buddy. 4. I will not stop until I have done G5W5 and 3 PLNS. Name your ultimate goal. Done. Email to commitment at themessageofyou.com. In my stand-up and speaking classes, it's not always the talented ones who end up with major careers. It's the ones who never give up. Yes, it's the ones who never give up. 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 One more time. It's the ones who never give up. I just hate it when people quit. I think that if they stayed in the process one more week, one more day, one more hour, they could have succeeded. Shared your commitment with someone will help you stay accountable. So commit